Woke up last night around 1 a.m., couldn't sleep for a couple hours, got on Instagram and saw that Courtney had started the Barkley Marathons. I didn't really know that was going on. I thought it was always around April Fool's, but it's March 18, 2021. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in Bakersfield, California. So it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon there. And so I'm kind of going to just go through some of the Twitter tweets on this. Keith Dunn is the one guy I know is always out there and does some pretty good tweets. He says, he started off 13 hours ago, says, it's been raining heavily for the past several hours. Just as the conch is blown, we are starting to get a break in the rain. That's what Courtney had said. In fact, Courtney's there. Her husband's not crewing her, interestingly enough. He said the conch was blown at 2:04 a.m. Thought it was supposed to be 3:04. After several false starts, the 2021 Barkley Marathons begins in 1 hour. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You get an hour notice. So you just kind of, sit in bed, lay around, waiting, and then the conch is blown and you get to go. So they had a memorial for members of the Berkeley family who are no longer with us. Cigarette was lit at 3:04 a.m. and the race began. And it's funny, Laz, with the smoking, when I went to the Dome in 2014 to do the 6-day race, oh my gosh, it was so hot and humid in there. Of course, not like Tennessee and stuff. I live in the desert. But anyways, I ended up for a while, I would do a bunch of laps, and then when I wanted to cool off, I'd actually go outside because the Dome was completely sealed, and it just got really hot and humid in there, especially when in the afternoons we had all these youth leagues playing sports in the middle of the damn thing. So I'd go out and I would lay on the sidewalk in front of the Dome, and more often than not, Laz would be out there smoking a cigarette. He definitely likes his cigarettes. And it says, the watches were set to race time over a year ago. It's a bit uncanny Laz could predict the break in tonight's rain that is that far in advance. So I think they're probably thankful for that, but I'm sure it's probably a humid mess out there. Of course, sometimes they even have snow there. It says, obviously, I've said this before, for the Barkley, the runners are issued a very standard watch set to race time. No other watches are allowed. This year's watch is a no-frills analog pocket watch. I love that, so you don't get any Garmin's, nothing. It's just you and a little watch, and you've got 60 hours to finish. It also says, early happenings. One runner came back to camp 40 minutes into the race because he forgot his bib. Wow, how can you go to that? So that's crazy. So forget your bib, and obviously you need your bib because there's 10 books so that they know you donned the course. You have to go out there and you tear out the page. So if you're bib 13, you tear out page 13, and then when you come back after a lap, you show Laz all your pages, and then you get to go back out and do another lap, and you do it the other direction. So that's kind of how it works. It says travel restrictions. Since the travel restrictions, the starting list is heavily USA, far more virgins than veterans. And it'll be interesting how this plays out over the weekend. Who knows? A lot of times I've seen in ultras, oftentimes the newbies are the ones who do really well. It's just kind of like you don't know what to expect. In fact, myself, now that I have 19 finishes of 100 miles or longer, I'm having a hard time getting to 20. 2019, I dropped out at mile 75 in a 72-hour race, just wasn't having any fun. Then I infamously went to Dome in Wisconsin. Wasn't having any fun. I don't like track races. I don't like indoor track races. You're just so confined. And I watched my friends Anthony and Yolanda walk 100 miles in under 24 hours. I was at 55 miles by that time. Called up my my airlines, and I could fly home early, and they weren't going to charge me anything. So I just packed it up, and in fact, when I went back and looked, I was one lap, a quarter mile short of 100K, but I just didn't care. So yeah, that's definitely, sometimes after you've done it too many times, you just kind of realize, oh, this is going to hurt, this is going to suck. It says that after 5.5 hours into the race, someone has dropped. They don't know who it was or where they are. They have not yet made it back to camp. Somebody named Pete Mortimer was the first runner to face the bugler after an odyssey that took him to the Gobi Church. So Pete Mortimer was the first person. And that's what happens when you don't make the cutoff or you come back and you quit. You get bugle horn, you get tapped out. So somebody asked, what gift did they have to give Laz this year? And Keith says, Moxie. 7 hours into the race, the front runners get the fire tower, points to the 9 or 10 hour first loop. Dave Hughes, the second runner to tap out after getting the first book. Wow. The rain has returned. 3 hours ago, it says the rain returned, accompanied by thunder. That's not fun. 10 hours in the race. Nobody has completed a lap. Loop 1. Jared Campbell and Luke Nelson have completed lap 1 in 10 hours, 21 minutes, and 10 hours, 1 second apart. Someone asked, crew, I don't know what happened to my runner. And Keith says, Barkley happened. And so it looks like Jared and Luke began loop 2 at 10:40 into the race. So they took a 19-minute break, and they were good to go. An hour ago, Keith said it was hailing a few miles from the park, and it's heading that way. Good news for the ladies. No woman has ever finished Barkley, but Maggie who obviously won the backyard bigs race, she and Courtney, Chris Hanlon, and Liz Canty all have finished loop 1 in 10:44 to 10:45. And I think that's really what you need to do, kind of like in the bigs race, is work together, because it's be so much easier just to do that and, stay together. And then, it comes down, in fact, it's kind of interesting if anybody makes it to the finishes 4 loops, when they go off for the 5th loop, the person who comes in first gets to decide which direction they're going to go. And there's obviously one direction is easier than the other. So you had those guys. Just before them was Frank Gonzalez, Jamil, Coury, Wes Thurman, and Scott Martin, all finished loops. Jamil, of course, has gone to Barkley many, many times. He's the race director for Air Vipa, which, puts on Javelin and Across the Years and all those other races. So he's back out there. He often writes about his training and what he's doing, all the vert he's trying to do. Looks like it says here, Courtney and them came in at 10:45, and then they left at 11:06. So they took about, again, 20 minutes. Maggie, Courtney, Liz, and Jamil, and Frank Gonzalez all began lap 2. So it sounds good. And it's cruising up here. Some other people coming in. I'm not familiar with a lot of them. Let me just roll up here. And then let's go back to, let me see here. Sorry about this. Oh, my computer's dead. Top tweets. Yep, says girl power. 3 of the 6 are women. Liz, Maggie, and Courtney. And just rolling along here. Sorry about that. I was trying to get back to the BM100, which is the hashtag for the race, and see what the top tweets were. And kind of like Twitter, the top tweets were either just retweeting stuff Keith wrote or just not really of very interest. So I think I will stick with Keith Dunn's commentary, and we'll do some more updates. But like I said, it is 1 o'clock here in California, so it's 4 p.m. there. So they've been out for about 13 hours. Of course, most of the top people have gotten the first lap done, and they've got 60 hours to do it. Interesting, I remember listening to a podcast a while back where they're talking to the guy, and I'm terrible with the names, but he's finished it 2 or 3 times, and they're asking him why, one of the things that makes why people don't do so well in this race. He said, well, because you have a lot of really good ultra guys who maybe have done 100-mile races or now even 200-mile races, but they really don't wrap their heads around being out there for 60 hours. They just can't get that in their head. And he says he's the same victim of it. When he runs a 50-mile race, if he's not done in 8 or 9 hours, he mentally gets messed up too. And so it's kind of the expectations. And so the expectation is you just need to realize you're going to be out there for a long time, and that's just what it is. In fact, when I run multi-day races, like 48-hour to 6-day races, I know a lot of people just don't accept the fact that, like, wow, you're going to be out here for almost a week. So this is your world. And so that's kind of, I'm sure, the mentality. It'll be interesting to see with so many newbies out there this year, and obviously not an international field, but the virgins, interesting to see how many of them do finish. And I'll plan on doing updates from time to time, maybe every 8 hours, or maybe every 12 hours, because it seems like loops are taking 10 or 11 hours. And well, 60 divided by 5 is 12 hours. So good luck to everybody out there at the Barkley Marathons. I hope everyone stays safe, and I guarantee they're going to have quite a adventure out there. And as always, stay healthy, be boring, not epic.